right now, I imagine you're providing a lot of counsel and guidance and support to many hotels. What are the questions people are asking you, and what's your advice to hotels now who are struggling with what to do in this very different revenue management landscape?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. I think with revenue managers, we always say that we carry two things with us all the time. And one is a calculator, one is a crystal ball. And that's our job, is to run the numbers and to predict the future. And this is a very different future. Even someone as old as I am, who have been through certain recessions and all of those things, will find this very difficult to predict. But if you have the data, so look at the numbers, let your data actually back up the decisions that you're making. But it's going to be tough. So, for example, I'm based in Ireland, and it's probable, rather than possible, that our hotels are going to come back with a phased opening. They're not going to be allowed to open with 100% rooms. It's going to be 20%, 40%, whatever. If you have a business that's centred around tour ops and corporate meeting and events, any of that, you're going to have to take that market segment and go, okay, we just need to leave it over here for now. What else can we do? What other kind of business are we going to get? I think we're all pretty certain that staycation is going to come back first. And if it is, how do you get your piece of the pie? How do you stand out from the crowd? And I think that's going to be fairly difficult. So it's getting the plans in place now. So what kind of rate? How are you going to market it to? What price are you going to sell it? How are you going to sell it?
Sorry, I was going to start on those things. Where do you start? How do you determine what rate to come back at if it's kind of coming into everyone's on lockdown and the doors open? Do you sort of say, well, over the next 3 months? I was speaking to someone last night his recommendation was over the next 3 months, we want to get back to being near to the prices we had. So I'm going to start where I can see a path back there. Is that where you begin, or do you just start with your lowest ever rate?
No, I don't think you start with your lowest ever rate. I think you have to take a pitch at something and hope not to have to go down from that. But I think it's understanding your persona of your guest, or the persona that your new guest might be. So, for example, if you think you might have a market for families, like, can you imagine all the families that are on lockdown at the moment that, will want to do something when they come out the other side of this? So what kind of price do families that have ever stayed with you in the past have bought? What kind of packages did you put together that sold? How did you distribute them? When did you distribute them? And you have to just take a stab in the dark. And, let's be honest, there's going to be a lot of mistakes made, but that's okay, because we'll learn from that. But I don't think your mistake should be pushing your rate really low. Try and keep some rate integrity there.
And so on that side, obviously, there's always a interesting conversation around how revenue and marketing can work better together. What is the role of revenue in helping marketing team define or decide? Okay, it's time to start ramping back the marketing spend, or it's time to start changing the behavior from total lockdown. Do you set a plan with lines in the sand, and if we see these things, that's when we'll start spending again? Any sort of advice?
Well, again, if anyone's ever heard me speak, it's revenue managers rule the world, and they absolutely should be sitting and working with all of these. And we talk as an industry a lot about working in silos, and this is the time to. I hope that this is completely smashed and broken, and that the teams actually are working really well together. But if I was in property, my advice would be, as exactly as you say, we've got to take those lines in the sand and say, okay, for this next 3 months, a PPC campaign needs 3 months to evolve. So you need to start thinking about that now. You can't wait, with the best will in the world, if we're not going to be open again for business until August or September, which I'm hoping is worst case scenario. But you need to start planning for, okay, if it is going to be August, what am I doing in May and June to start planning that? You may not be actually spending, but where am I going to spend? It's probably going to be your local market. What are your demographics? Who are you going to market to? Put that plan in place for maybe 3 months, see how it's going. But this is the time to be really strong with your marketing agency, your digital agency. Be on the phone with them, speak to them every couple of days, see what they're doing, what keywords are working, what you need to do there. What are your taglines, your site extensions? How's everything actually working? What are people clicking through? What needs tweaked? Is someone clicking on an offer and are they actually buying? Are they, are they coming off? And make it as easy for people as possible.
When you think about rate strategy and sort of distribution and who you give cancelable rates to or don't, I assume right now there's no question. Everybody, Agoda and Booking.com just sort of cancel non-cancelable rates at the moment. So you perhaps have to just provide that to everyone. But are there sort of any opportunities, do you think, as things pick up again, to reconfigure the relationship with OTAs? You talked a little bit about it, but are there rate strategy ways of doing that mean you only have certain rates direct or benefits?
Yeah, I think we've definitely been guilty as an industry, and I was part of this, way back, when Booking.com was Active Hotels. That's how old I am. But we were all guilty of, oh my goodness, we have to put everything out on the OTAs, and when I'm speaking with hoteliers, it's literally, I will give you £1 million today if you can go to a drawer in your hotel and pull me out your Booking.com contract. I have never given a penny away because no one can ever find it. So no one understands who signed the contract. And 18, 19 years ago, I was signing a contract for OTAs for a chain of 6 hotels with no clue that this 48-page document would haunt that hotel group even today. So I think it's time to speak to your account manager, look at your terms and conditions, look at how you're actually interacting with these people, because these people, they're the OTAs, they're going to have to realign their business as well. But absolutely keep special rates for yourself, keep room types for yourself. You do not have to give these people all of your business. They are one channel. They're not responsible. You don't have to give them your life and your soul. Treat them like any other distribution channel that you have. Close them off, manage them. They are one part of your strategy. They should never be your whole strategy.
In terms of the challenges right now that you're hearing from customers, what is it? What's the day of a hotelier like from the revenue manager you're speaking to? And I ask that mostly because I think there'll be people who are watching who feel a little bit lonely and on their own, fighting their own fight. I
think that most of the reservationists, revenue managers, anyone at the minute is, what they're doing is changing, moving cancel bookings from here to there. And it's literally a process of, okay, I'm taking that group out of this year, I'm going to move it to here. And I spoke to a really strong revenue manager in a beautiful 5-star hotel. And, she's saying that they're literally just, taking this block, moving here, taking that block, moving. And then she's realizing, oh my goodness, I've just put 2 blocks in on the same weekend. I've only got 3 rooms left to sell. That was a really stupid thing to do. So, it's actually trying to stop that panic, that fear of, I have to take this out and move it somewhere, and I'll move it anywhere just for the sake of keeping that business and having it there and being able to show the owners that I've got revenue in. I think it's actually, no, hang on a second. Is that a good piece of business? They were staying on a Wednesday last year. They want a Friday this year. Instead of panicking and thinking, oh dear God, I put them in on Friday. That actually, is that a good piece of business? Are they paying the right rate? Do I need to be more strategic? And I think that's challenging because I think there's a huge amount of work to do. The whole team has been decimated and furloughed. So, the 1 or 2 key people that are there are, dealing with all of that and dealing with 100 other things. So I think the challenge is at the moment is panicking about making bad decisions and just the sheer workload.
And the final thing for bringing to a close, you mentioned earlier data, and I think one of the questions I've been musing in my mind is, what value data and revenue management now, if the world that we face today is so different, the customers are different, the spend profiles are different, everything is, cancellations, lead times, all that. Is there a danger that using the data of bookings from last year and the year before actually is as likely to drive me to the wrong conclusion in this new market as it is to help me? How should you think about like data and its usefulness in a new market?
Well, I think any revenue management system or revenue manager who's taking this year's data to process for next year obviously needs shot. No, I didn't say that. But I think what a good revenue management system will do, and people who are maybe not using revenue management systems but are really strong revenue managers, is they're using the data from last year and the year before. We know, our systems know, our people know how Tuesdays behave in July, how Tuesdays. So that has to be a starting point. It has to be this is what I'm predicting for September. This is what I'm predicting, because you know it, and because the data from previous years will tell you that. That just gives you a starting point to readjust your strategy. And I think it will help cement people's confidence in rates. So this is what the market normally pays, 120 ADR. I don't have to go to here to an 80 quid rate. That's what that market normally takes. Let's hold out, let's see what it is, because that dropping of rates doesn't stimulate demand. If your market has paid this in the past, they will pay it again. Yeah. What you just need to do is realign, and then use your data to understand, well, if that market is a mainstay for me and it's gone, if it's corporates, if it's meeting and events, whatever, then look at your other segments, look at the gaps, look at where they are, the rate that they're paying, how they normally book, your profitability, that sort of burger. The one bit in the middle is the rate. The bottom bit is how much it's costing you to bring in, and the top bit is your incremental spend. So look at those, break that down, understand which ones are the most profitable for you, and then go after that market. I think data is key at the moment.